Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on network providing. Thanks for joining us. This is a part of our monthly educational webinar series that we do here at Tenstreet, and this month we'll be focused on network providing in our Xchange employment verification system. My name is Leah Kelly, and I'm here with Johnny Mercer and Kim Taken of our account management team.
Hello.
Hello.
We all want to thank you for joining us today. We know you guys are really busy and your time is valuable, so we appreciate you being here. So today I'm going to give you a quick 5-minute overview of what network providing is, and then I'm going to turn it over to Johnny, who will give you a live demonstration of our system, which will really help bring it home so our viewers can see how things work visually, which is always an extremely helpful way to learn. And then we'll talk about how you can become a network provider for free, what else it includes, and we'll wrap up with a Q&A session. So the whole presentation will probably last around 20-25 minutes, so we won't keep you long. And also, just so you know, the webinar will be recorded and sent to you within the next 24 hours. Also, you can feel free to submit your questions anytime throughout the webinar. We'll do our best to get to them as you ask them, but if we're not able to get to them right away, we'll do that at the end of the webinar. You can do so using the text box under the question section in your GoToWebinar panel. Okay, so the eternal employment verification cycle. It never ends. We all know what it's like to lose a driver, and if you're like most carriers, you do your best to smoothly navigate the inconveniences. You know, it's a way of life. So you have a process in place where you're continually reviewing applications and onboarding new drivers, doing what you can to diminish the effect of the loss of revenue that comes with an empty seat. But while you're focused on these critical tasks that help to push your business forward, your fax machine starts flooding you with requests for information around employment verification, drug testing, and accident records. And this probably all sounds familiar to you. As expected, your former driver is looking for another job, which means in come dozens of employment verification requests from the companies that he or she is applying to. And this causes hours of tedious paperwork as you receive, record, and respond to all these messages, providing the same information about the same driver over and over and over. And that's just one driver. You get more from every other driver you've ever employed over the last 3 years, and that's even at a minimum since this is all the DOT requires, but sometimes other companies will ask for more. They, up to 10 years of employment history. So the point is you can't really ever get away from them. You get to see them all over again every time they want to change carriers. And this problem continues to grow exponentially with every lost driver, and you can see how, and probably experience how it easily will bog down your business. So the bottom line is, while it's a necessary burden, we know we have to respond to these. All of these requests take a lot of time and resources away from the things that actually grow your business. So that's where Tenstreet comes in. We recognize the pain associated with these processes, and we created a better solution and a free solution. So this is introducing our Xchange network. When you sign up to become a network provider in Xchange, which is our employment verification system, you get all that time and energy back, and that allows you to spend it on the more important things that help grow your business instead of keeping you in the weeds. Here's how it works, basically. Instead of keeping a driver's information in a file cabinet, network providers can simply fill out a digital request one time, and when another request for the same driver comes through, you simply review the release, click OK, and move on. So all that information that you entered stays stored in the system, so you never have to re-enter it again. And that way, time and mistakes are both reduced. So we currently have about 3,400 carriers who use network as their preferred method of providing employment verification. And these are the carriers who garner the most from the Xchange network. Some of you on the call may already use Xchange, so you're familiar with what that means, but that's just one method that we use in Xchange. And it's the preferred method to respond to verifications in Xchange. We actually have over 47,000 total carriers who are currently on the Xchange network. And in fact, it's such a big platform that we account for 35% of the industry's DOT verifications, that are completed on Xchange, which is about 80,000 requests a month. So we've also found that verification requests placed over Xchange through network providing actually are returned 40% faster than the traditional method of faxing, and that all your requests and attached releases are stored automatically, which also reduces the total cycle time significantly. And this just reduces the labor split between your processing and recruiting functions, which really just gives you some time to rethink and optimize your operations. So best of all, you can finally say goodbye to your fax machine for good. So now for the fun part, Janice is going to walk us through what network providing looks like and then how it works. So I'm going to change presenters here. Where are you? Okay, you should see that pop-up box, Janice. There, you got it. Good.
And can everyone see my screen?
I can see it, yes.
Okay, all right.
We can all see it.
Hi, my name is Johnny, and I'm going to show you a quick demonstration on how to use the network for providing. When you become a provider, you will receive an email anytime that you receive a verification request, and that email will notify you that there's a pending request. When you log into your Tenstreet account, in the upper upper left-hand corner, you would just change the Express tab to Exchange. And under Exchange, you will have two tabs, Provider Response and Authorizer Response. Under Provider Response, this is where the majority of new requests will be located, and there will be a list here for you. Sometimes there'll be one, sometimes there'll be a couple, sometimes there'll be multiple requests like this. And you click on the request and open it up, and the request will show the request number. It will show the applicant or the previous employer, his social, date of birth. That's optional. It will show the network request, and it will also show what the requester is requesting. This one is requesting employment, drug and alcohol, and accident information. The date of the request was made, and it will also show the date range that they are requesting. The requester information, right now it shows Tenstreet demo, but this section here will have the contact information for the requesting company, along with their address and phone number. Beneath there, it will show personal information, and this personal information is on the previous employee, and it will show their name, their social, provider. Here we can switch if you have several companies that you provide information on, then you can add all of those companies under one dashboard, and you can respond under separate companies. It will show the actual service period, the starting date, and the ending date. If this particular applicant is still currently with your company, this would be left blank. The date of birth is optional. The employment information, the position held, if the driver is still with your company or not, the driver class, the driver type, if they are eligible for rehire or not, was the driver terminated or not, if their position was deemed a safety-sensitive position or not, if they were full-time or part-time, if they were OTR, regional or local, number of states driven, equipment, and this is a drop-down list here, so you can select whichever equipment. The trailers driven, this is also a drop-down list there. The length of the trailer, loads hauled, miles per week. And this section here would determine what your company policy is on what information that you would provide here. Some companies provide the miles per week, some companies don't. The next section is drug and alcohol. If there was no drug and alcohol issues with this particular driver, you would just click the little box, check all no, and it would be pre-populated for you for no. If there was a drug and alcohol issue, then you would just click yes, and then you would have to list the date. The next section would be for accidents. If there was no accidents for this particular driver, you would click the little box in the upper left-hand corner for no accidents. But if there were accidents, then there is an accident section here that you would fill out, and you would always start out with accident, adding accident number 1. Once you complete this form and then you hit Save Accident, if there was a second accident, then you would click Add New Accident, and then a blank form would be pre-populated, and the title would say Adding Accident Number 2. After you completed all the accidents, then you click Add Accident, and then that will save the accident. And I guess I should have started in the beginning with the View Release button. This is where you would go and click on to view the release for the driver. If the release is acceptable, then you would fill the form out and you click Submit Response. Clicking Submit Response will complete this request, and it will automatically be sent to the requesting company. If this particular driver was with your company more than one service period, instead of clicking Submit Response, you would click Submit Response / Add New Service Period. The system would save all the information you just entered on this service period. It would create a second blank form for you to enter any pertinent information pertaining to the second period of service. After completing the second period of service, you click Submit Response, and then you've completed that response. The information goes to the requesting company. If you get a request and this driver is not in your system, and doesn't belong to you or doesn't belong to your location, then you would click Refuse Not My Driver, and then you would click the reason for the refusal and a brief description, and then hit Submit, Refusal, and then this request would go back to the requesting company, and they would be notified that this request was refused, and it will give the refusal reason. And let's go up to the top here under Authorize a Response. Any request that you respond to, it's automatically saved and stored in our system. When you receive a second request on a driver that has stored information in our system, it would be delivered under Authorize a Response. You would click on the driver, and the system has automatically pre-filled the form for you using the information that was previously stored in the system. In this particular example, the driver, it shows the end date shows none. And in this particular case, it is suggested that you check to make sure that the driver is still currently with your company. If he's still currently with your company, this would still be correct. If he has termed with your company, then you would go in and you would update the end date to show what date he ended his employment with your company. And you would click on View Release, make sure that they provided you a good release, and then you would click on Action, release this report, and click Go, and then this report would be automatically sent to the requesting company. Under this section here, it shows the requested report, and so this would be your company's information here. Just in case the requester would need to contact you, your company would be made available to them. The request subject information is what the requesting company is requesting. This is the date range that they're requesting. The provided subject information is the information that your company is responding with. The original request information, this section here is pulled from the driver's application, and this is what the driver has provided when he applied with that requesting company. The provided information on the right is what your company has provided as a reply. So the original requested information is not always going to show the same information as the provided information. This is based off of the driver's word. This is based off of the company and the documents that they have in their file. Drug and alcohol information would show here as long as the date range is within the last 3 years. If it's beyond 3 years, the drug and alcohol information would be removed from view with a message stating that this information cannot be provided because it's beyond 3 years. Accident information show at the bottom, and then the activity log would show here at the very bottom.
Hey, Johnny.
Under the provided, yes.
And or Kim, we have a couple questions that came in. I thought we might want to go ahead and answer them since they pertain to this section. When you said if the release is acceptable, what does that mean? Like, when would it not be, and if it isn't, what would they do with it? I think you might have touched on that, but just to reiterate.
That's a good question. Under the items requested, EMP, ACC, and DA is employment, accident information, and drug and alcohol. There are 2 releases normally that will be provided. One would be a general release, consumer release, or one would be a drug and alcohol approved release. If they are requesting drug and alcohol information, then they would have to provide the appropriate DNA release. If they are only requesting, let's see, I think here, this demo here, they're only requesting employment and accident information. So if they provided a consumer release, then you would be authorized to release the employment information. But if they are wanting drug and alcohol information, they cannot provide a consumer release. That's not a release that would authorize you to release drug and alcohol information.
Okay, great, thank you. And then another question: does the system populate any of the fields that are located in the tagging fields? That's yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Does it populate any of the fields located in the tagging fields? Does that make sense? I think when you were talking about how it pre-populates with data that was already there, I think they're asking if it can pull over.
I can take that one.
Great.
I can take that one. Yeah, it does not pull over information from tagging within Express, so there wouldn't be pre-population from Express.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I wasn't for sure that they were talking about Express. No, it would only pre-populate information that would be stored under provider response, managed stored responses. This is where you can go to pre-store a driver's record. Let's say, for example, you had 2 drivers that termed yesterday. You haven't received any requests on those drivers as of yet. You can go to provider response, manage stored responses, click on add a response, and this is where you would populate a blank form, and this will allow you to go in and pre-store driver's records in the system. And you would fill this form out the same way, and after you complete the form, hit submit response, and the information will not go anywhere. It will just be stored in the system for future use. Once you start receiving requests on this term driver, instead of finding it in provider response, you will find it in authorized response because the system has already stored that record, and it will pre-populate it for you in authorized response. And after you've responded to a request, if you need to locate that request, you would go to View Previous Responses. You would enter the driver's name or social, click Search, and then you would click on the driver. Well, this one here. There we go. You would click on the driver's name, and then the report would show. And this is a report showing what you responded to, who you responded to, the date that you responded, and the information that was provided. And this is where you would always go to view any previous responses that were made on a particular driver. And up in the upper corner here, it will show the number of pages of stored responses that you've responded to. Here, this is showing page 1 of 122 pages. And this information is stored in the system indefinitely, so anytime you need to access this information, it will be available. And one more thing I would like to show you. If something happens and you go in and you respond to a request, but then you realize that you entered the wrong date, or you didn't add an accident, or you put a wrong date on an accident, any edits that you would need to make, you can do that by going to Provide a Response, Manage Stored Responses, put in the driver's name or social, click Search. You will bring up the driver's original record, and this is where all of his information is stored, and this is where you would make any edits or changes to that record. Once the edit has been completed, then you click Save Changes, and if you've responded to a verification request on this driver in the last 30 days, the system will automatically send a corrected report. Let me go over here and see if it will. I clicked on one that showed, and this is what will show here. The original record that you responded to will be replaced with a message saying that it's no longer valid, a corrected report, and it will show the request number of that corrected report. And on the requester side, they will see this message here on that original record, but then they would also be able to see the corrections that was made. And that ends my demonstration. I'm going to change the presenter back to Leah.
So Leah, do we have any more questions that we wanted to cover? Well, let me see if I can see some of those questions. I know there was a question about what would happen in the event that a electronic release was declined by someone. And Johnny's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't hear in many instances where that is a thing. I've seen it happen 1 or 2 times, but certainly not all the time. But if there was a situation where someone declined to accept an electronic release, you'd probably have to go ahead and get one on paper if you needed that verification. And then you have the ability to upload a paper release. If you don't have an electronic one, you can make a request within the system and attach that paper release. As long as you scan it and get it into the system, you can attach it to the request and then submit the request to the network provider, and then they should be able to respond to your request.
Yeah, the electronic releases, that used to be an issue, probably about 1.5 years ago, but really, honestly, within the last 1.5 years, almost 2 years, I haven't had that issue at all present itself. It used to be a big issue, though.
Yeah, thankfully, that's kind of dying down as we go forward. I think people are getting more and more familiar with the electronic releases and realize that that's acceptable under the guidelines, and we just don't see a lot of that happening. Let me see what the next question is. Let's see. I think there's some questions that pertain more to...
I was on mute, sorry. Yeah, a couple of the questions are asking about what I'm about to cover. So let me hit on that, and then we can go back to questions. So thank you so much, Kim. And Johnny, thanks a lot. That was great. So, in fact, you may be wondering, how do you become a network provider? So all that you would do, it's a super simple process. You would just provide us with your basic contact information, including your address and your fax number, and then we can get you set up. We'll provide you with a user guide, give you a tour, more personalized tour, and then get you on the road to responding quickly and easily to all your verification requests for free. So just to review what you get, you get a membership in a network of 45,000 companies so that you can easily verify requests for employment, accident, education, military, and drug and alcohol history for free. You have a system that tracks and stores all your verifications in one place. Obviously, you only have to enter each one time, so no duplicate data entry or triplicate or any more. And then you get a driver monitor report. We haven't talked about this yet, but this is a really cool thing. This report will notify you when your current and former employees are looking for a job, so you can retain drivers who may be looking to leave and even rehire drivers you've invested resources into before. So, as you know, retaining and rehiring a driver is 10 times less expensive than hiring a brand new driver. So this is kind of a big thing. Say you really like a certain driver and you see on this report that he's recently been applying to other companies. So then you have a chance to retain him by asking him if there's anything you can do to make him happier. And then now that kind of provides him with an opportunity to tell you what's on his mind. And then hopefully he'll stay around. This report has saved companies hundreds of thousands of dollars in retention, so as well as finding them great rehires. So it's actually very, very valuable. We provide that for free. Then there's a way to automatically submit termination records to Hireright through an integration with Xchange, so that also saves you some data entry time. I saw a question about that. And then lastly, you get free access to previous employers that current candidates may have omitted from their work history. So if you get an application in and it doesn't have everything on it, Xchange will let you know that they may be missing or they haven't included a previous employer on their application. And then in case you were wondering, when companies do fax you, we actually provide you with a cover sheet that you can send back that tells them you no longer respond to fax requests and instead now use Xchange for all your verification requests. And then that company would have to contact you this way to get what they need. So perfect. Okay, and so now what other questions do we have? That about wraps us up. We were pretty quick. We lasted about 27 minutes, so that's good. Kim, do you see any more that came through?
Yeah, let me see. We've got, how does a company sign up for this free service? Well, you kind of covered that a little bit in your last slide, but it's super easy to do. It's a free service, which is really awesome. So if you're interested, definitely let us know and we'll be glad to get you set up. Let's see what else.
You can email us at sales@tenstreet.com. Right here is our contact information on this slide. So you can either call us or email us and let us know that you're interested and we'll do the rest.
Let's see. How can you submit this information to Hireright on the driver's DAC report automatically? That's a great question. If you are set up to submit termination records to Hireright, then and you are a network provider with us, then there's an extra function inside of the system here where once you have entered the stored response for the driver that's left you, you can also send that termination record over to Hireright through the interface, which will populate their system, and you get credit for that submission on your bill. So if you're interested in that function, if you're a network provider today and you are set up to submit term records to Hireright, we can set that up through the interface. Just let your account manager know, or you can email sales@tenstreet.com and we can get that set up for you. It's super easy, just another click of the button. Although Hireright has some additional fields in their form that you'll have to fill out, but those are presented to you right on the screen and you can just go through and answer them. It's a pretty quick process and you get a confirmation number at the end so you know that it's submitted, and if there's any questions or problems with that, you'll have that confirmation number and you can talk to Hireright about any issues that you might have at that point. Let's see, there's a couple more here. Going back to the drug and alcohol, let's see, when authorizing a response, what was it that was said about having the correct what specifically in order to be able to release this information? Well, I think you're talking about when we were talking about the authorized response, and if you're going to be responding or the person requests drug and alcohol information, you just want to make sure that you have the appropriate release on file. And Johnny, you have really good specifics on that, so I'll throw that over to you as far as what the release requirements are in regard to the DNA stuff.
Okay, for a release to be DNA approved or DOT approved, it would have to have the FMCSA regulation on the release, authorizing you to release the driver's information. It would have to show your company name. It would have to show the name of the driver, his social, or at least the last four of his social for reference, just in case his name is a common name. It will have to also have the name of the requesting company and their contact information, the driver's signature, the date on the application that the driver signed would need to be within the last 30 days. Let's see what else. Basically that the DOT verbiage authorizing the release of the driver's drug and alcohol information would need to be on that release before you can release that information. And if it's not there, if it's missing, then you would not be able to release drug and alcohol information to the requesting party. And then at that time is when you would refuse the release, and you would use the refusal option. I think it said, there was one of them that said no release, refusal other. And you would use that option, refusal other, and then in the notes section, you would list what the issue was with the release. That gives the company a chance to go in and make the needed correction to the release and resubmit the request to you with the appropriate release so that you can respond in a timely manner.
Great. Good information. There were several questions too about if we're going to send out a copy of this, and we are going to send out a copy of this, so you'll be able to watch it if you registered for this session. So you'll get a copy via email. Leah, how long does that usually take? Would it be tomorrow probably they would expect to see that?
Yep, tomorrow around the same time. So in the next 24 hours, they would receive it.
Okay, great. And then there's a question about the directory. So when people store information, like if somebody's a network provider, if they're a fax provider and they put in a fax number, you know, there's public directories, and network providers are in the public directory. And if you see that come up when you're making a request from the Express side, definitely don't change the provider information. So if it's network, just make sure you're leaving it as network and make your request as usual. But if for some reason you find out there's an error made, like somebody entered a fax number wrong, or the company tells you they're no longer with the network, or maybe they're no longer a fax provider and information needs to be updated, you can always reach out to your account manager or support@tenstreet.com, and we can look into that for you, and we can make adjustments to the directory to fix any errors that might be out there. Let's see. Somebody's asking, how do I see if we have verifications for previous drivers? So if you already are a network provider and you're wanting to see where to go to see the verification requests you might have had, back where Johnny started in the top left corner, it defaults to Express. If you change that to Xchange, once the screen changes, you'll go to the Provide Response tab, and if there's any pending requests in there, you'll see a list of them like she showed earlier. And also the Authorize Response tab would be another place to look in case you have some stored responses that requesters had made additional requests on. Those fall in the Authorize Response tab. So both of those tabs would be where you would look to see if you have any pending requests. Somebody's asking about what does the status fax received mean? And that's on the, you wouldn't see that on the network providing side. You'd see that only within Express. And the fax received means that somebody has responded to your request via fax, and that document with the information is in the system and available for you to view. And again, if you have any questions on how to view those faxes, you can reach out to your account manager or support@tenstreet.com. Leah, do you think, do you see anything else that I'm missing?
I think you covered everything. It looks great. I'm glad it seemed it went so well. These were great questions. So I think we haven't received any in a little bit. So I think this is a good time to say goodbye and thank everybody again for their time. We really appreciate you being here. You will receive a recording so you can review this at any time. But if you do have questions, like Kim said, reach out to your account manager or support. If you're interested in becoming a network provider, you can email us at sales@tenstreet.com, or you can give us a call. However, whatever makes sense to you, however that looks for you. If you're a client or if you're not a client, it would be a different avenue you would go down. But just reach out to us, and we will definitely get you set up and get you headed in the right direction. And thank you also to Johnny and to Kim, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks.
Thanks.
We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.